What's up, you silly gaffers? I decided I would start doing Q&As just to see how it would go. I get a lot of random questions all the time. I get a lot of repeated questions, and I thought I would have a place where you could refer to them if you really wanted to. So let's just jump right into it with the very first question, which is OnlyFans. The second question is OnlyFans. Never, probably. And if I did, it would be way too expensive for you. Next actual question from Texan Metalheads. How do you keep that beard looking so glorious? Honestly, the answer is I don't really do much, honestly. I shampoo it normally with regular shampoo and conditioner. I don't use specific beard shampoos. I kind of find that doesn't really make a difference necessarily. I just do that. I'm kind of lucky too. I've never had skin issues with growing facial hair. A lot of people have they get really itchy on their face and stuff when they're growing out, but I've never had that problem, so I don't feel like I need to use any kind of special shampoo or oils or ointments. That being said, I do have some beard balms that I like to use, mostly for shaping, keeping it nice and pointy, and they smell nice. They smell like lemons and shit. I like that. This question from Amodum2. Do you think you'll be doing vocals for Angelmaker in the future, and what's your favorite Angelmaker album? In terms of vocals, I mean, that's not my job in the band necessarily. My job is to play guitar. But I don't know. We'll see what happens when we start recording this month. I might come in, do some background vocals here and there. But I don't imagine anything like any focal point vocals. Probably just helping Mike and Casey out with some parts, especially live. Maybe we'll do more then, but we'll see. My favorite Angelmaker album is Descentient, just because back to front, it's great. It's one of the best deathcore albums ever written anyways, and it did a lot of great things for the band. And yeah, I mean, it's hard because the self-title is really good as well, so who knows. Next question comes from homie Emily. Shout out to Emily. Best live performance of an artist you don't actively listen to. I don't know if you were at the show, but it was a crazy 2-night show, sold out like nuts. FKA Twigs. So this is when I was doing production at the Vogue. This setup for the show was so elaborate. We had to build a moving curtain that was very important to the show. There is a curtain at the Vogue, but it's stuck in a stationary position and it doesn't move. So we had to build one specifically for this show. And it was a whole thing. The load in took forever. The load out took forever too, just because it was multiple companies bringing in different gear from lighting and all of that. So that was crazy. But the show itself was incredible. It was a beautiful theatrical performance. I was working and I had a hard time not watching the show. She's an incredible vocalist and just also an amazing dancer. It was a beautiful theatrical performance from start to finish. So that was probably one of the best. There's been a lot because I used to run a theater, so I've seen a lot of things, but that one was definitely one that stuck with me for a while. And there was a lot of drama in that show too, but it was a good time. Next question. What was the best part about 2020 for you? Knowing that it would eventually be over. No, I would say joining Angelmaker and starting Carcosa would be a tie for number one. Next question is not a question. It's just from my homie Gary, and he says, I love you and miss you. I miss you too, Gary. Mwah, 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 mwah. Yeah, go check out Gary's stuff. He's an amazing guitar player. He's a funny guy. He's great. Go show him some love, please. Next question comes from Bandrew, Boner Boy, Complaina, Bana, baby. Favorite show you ever played with GP? So I think the obvious answer for all of us in the band was our last show because it was sold out. It was crazy. Played for a bunch of homies, but it literally took us breaking up to make that show super sick. So I'm going to go probably with the first time we played as a four-piece, which was at the first Loud as Hell festival that we played, which was in Drumheller, Alberta. Our vocalist couldn't make it for a bunch of crazy reasons I'm not going to go into. If you really want to know, you can watch Andrew's last FAQ. He talks about this as well. But basically, we were forced to backtrack all of our bass for that show, which was fine. We had thought ahead and done it already. But I was going to do vocals for all of the new GP stuff, and Andrew was going to do the vocals for the old GP stuff, and we were going to switch playing guitar and stuff. But that was the first time we played as a four-piece, and that's when we decided that this is what we wanted to do. We were happy with, Cooper, Travis, and Andrew and I just to operate as a four-piece. So I think that was a very pivotal moment, so that was probably my favorite show because of that. Next question from Mary. Once you can travel again, will your band come to the U.S., come to Philly, dude? I mean, yeah, who knows when that's going to be? Probably within the next 2 to 3 years. But we'll most likely definitely come through with Angelmaker for sure. Carcosa, we don't really know because it's hard to tell, whether touring is worth it for us right now. But for Angelmaker, the States is the A market for that band. So we'll definitely most likely be coming to the States again. And I would love to come to Philly because I know it's a crazy sports city. I don't like the Flyers at all. But Pennsylvania is a pretty cool state, so from what I've heard, and I want to see more of the U.S. So once everything calms down, yeah, we aspire to. Woo! Next question from Gilbert. What's your favorite slasher or horror movies? I'm not huge into the slasher horror genre necessarily. I've seen a lot of films, but I wouldn't say that that's my favorite within scary films. I'm more of a psychological thriller kind of guy. But I would say just really easy OG Halloween or House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie kind of stuff. But for psych thrillers, one of my favorites is Goodnight Mommy. It's an Austrian film, super sweet, all subtitles, but incredibly just uncomfortable movie, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Next question: how long did it take you to learn to scream? It's kind of interesting because I'm a guitar player first and foremost. So a lot of my focus when I was growing up with music was playing guitar and getting better at the instrument. I kind of just did vocals on the side just to fuck around and see what I could do. And I was writing songs at a really young age too, so I wanted to incorporate vocals. And I started writing my own music probably when I was in grade 8, so 2008-ish. I just did it with no technique. I probably did it about the worst way you could possibly do it. But I think I really started to take it seriously in my first year of college in 2013, because I went to music school and we learned how to properly sing with our diaphragm, and in doing that, learning how to actually physically sing, it kind of helped me learn how to scream as well. There's a lot of different techniques between the two, like clean singing and actually screaming, but it definitely helped in terms of where my source of power comes from. So, I guess I would say it's been it took me 7 years to get to where I am now. I kind of just started to take it progressively more serious as time went on. But yeah, I would say 7 years to get to a pretty comfortable place. So moving on from that, the next question is, what can someone do to learn how to scream or growl? Some techniques or something they, whatever, might need to know. I'm pretty poo-poo fart bad at describing how to do vocals, but for me, what I did growing up was I've said this before, but I liked to imitate my favorite vocalists. So I would cover a lot of early Whitechapel, and I would learn how Phil did his lows just by trying to imitate what he was doing. So in doing that, I kind of unofficially learned the technique. And then as I got older, I started to understand what I was doing, I guess. So I would always start from there, do it obviously in moderation. Don't hurt yourself, but try covering some of your favorite vocalists and, try to emulate what they're doing to the best of your ability. In doing that, you might actually learn the technique that they're using. but just be careful. That's all. The next question is thoughts on lizards. I think lizards are pretty fucking wizard, if you ask me. Great question. The next question is a really good one. What would you recommend to a band about to drop an EP out of the blue? Socials, marketing, all that kind of stuff. I really wanted to answer this question because we basically did that with Carcosa. We kind of came out of the blue. We didn't really tell anybody about what we were doing after Galactic Pegasus. But this is a really hard way to start a band. But I would basically just say be as prepared as possible. Shoot all your music videos beforehand. Make sure all of your songs are done. Make sure your logos are finished. All of that, so that when you are ready to drop, you're just ready to rip right away. So I would, for social media, start a new Instagram, start a new Facebook, completely start from scratch. The algorithm completely fucks up your reach and stuff if you're using an old page. I would just recommend using a brand new one. What we did for the Carcosa Instagram is we used the old GP one because it had like 10,000 followers on it. So we just completely scrapped all of and archived all the old stuff, and then started to rebrand as Carcosa. We did it in kind of like a subliminal way where we just posted like weird sketchy photos of the logo, and then as time went on we showed the whole logo, and then when the music video dropped we just went full tilt into promoting everything like that. But yeah, I would also recommend having promotional clips ready for Instagram and Facebook, so making sure like you have proper dimensions like 5x4s and stuff for Instagram ready to go that look sick and tease like the best part of your song. And make sure you have really good hyperlinks as well that direct people to all of your social media and where they can listen to your music and stuff like that, because people now need you to hold their hand to take them to where you want them to go. So I would say do that kind of shit. The next question. If someone gifts you unlimited money, what would you get built with what brand? What guitar, sorry. I mean, honestly, I'm still on the Aristides hype train. I just think like in terms of modern guitar work, they are incredible. The quality is super high. It's worth the price that you pay for them. So I would probably go full tilt, balls to the walls, and just like get a completely decked out Aristides. I loved the carbon fiber one that they had at NAMM last year. I know it was super expensive, and Pascal hasn't really said how much it was. He just said it was over $6,000. So I would probably do something like that, like all carbon fiber guitar, and then just like spec it out as much as I could. The next question is very important, and I really needed to answer this one because it's a very serious question. Poo Poo PP or PP Poo Poo? I mean, I gotta go with Poo Poo PP because Poo Poo makes me laugh more than PP does. So when Poo Poo is before PP, I think it's funnier. Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate you asking me this. The next question is a good one too. What's the process for making a brutal breakdown? So it's pretty hard to make a breakdown that sticks in people's heads now in 2020 because we've all been hearing breakdowns forever now. We've all heard the same breakdowns, all this and that. So when I approach a breakdown, I usually like to think of a few things. Where in the song is it and where is it going? If it's building up to something, are we building up to it? Is it the end of the song? Is it the middle of the song? Because I think that will dictate the direction at which you create your breakdown. But rhythm is very important. You want it to be... Depends on what kind of breakdown you're writing for what style of metal you're doing. But if you're doing like straight up deathcore, I like to try and keep our breakdowns in 4 if we can help it. Or if it's not in 4, I want it to be really groovy. So I want to focus on making that rhythm as head boppy and stank facey as possible. And then also on top of that, instead of just having a straight up chug pattern with drums and bass, create ambience. Create a cinematic wall of terrifying sound so that it just like feels monstrous and huge. Cooper, our guitar player in Carcosa, is very, very good at doing that. But bands like Humanity's Last Breath, I feel like they build their atmosphere first around the song and then the breakdown around it, so it just feels terrifying. Black Tongue is good at this as well. and Oceano as well on their last record really built like amazing ambience. I would recommend trying to go down a path like that. The next question is also a very important one. Poutine or burger? I'm gonna kind of go off of what I have more, and I probably have burgers more than poutines. But since I live in Canada, I feel like I have to say poutine. I was a huge Smokes Poutinery guy for a long time. I recently kind of fell off the train a bit. I got tired of it. Whatever. But there used to be one right beside the venue I ran, so I would go there all the fucking time. I don't know, man. I'm gonna say poutine burger. Fucking who cares? This comes from homie Matt, and his question is: are you superstitious / ritualistic when it comes to prepping to perform / record? I would say no. I'm not a very superstitious person in the first place, so I don't think this necessarily pertains to me. I mean, I warm up more than anything. Like, I physically warm up. I don't, like, think about, oh, I better do fucking this before I start. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a good show. I just make sure that I'm properly warmed up and physically stretched out, because especially when I was playing, like, bass live, I would go fucking crazy. And if I didn't stretch or do anything like that, I would fuck myself up pretty good. So I would say nothing, like, crazy out of the ordinary Ouija board voodoo shit. I just kind of, work my hands out and the rest of my body, and I'm good to go. The next question comes from the Ricky Hoover, and he says, can we caress beards while we do gutturals together? And the answer is an immediate yes. Ricky, we can do anything we want together. That's as long as we're together, I don't give a shit, baby. Yeah, Ricky's a homie. He's the best. You should know who he is, and if you don't, look him up. Next question. What Star Wars movie or timeline do you want to see in the future? Old Republic for me. I'm going to say the same thing. I'm a huge Old Republic fan. I would love to have them either really go in on like Darth Revan in like the KOTOR era of the Old Republic, or go into like the Darth Bane trilogy of books. Like, that book series is fucking awesome, and if they made that into like a film of sorts, it would be really great. And I think that's what a lot of the fans want, is the Old Republic era. If not Old Republic era, I would still say like maybe like something about Darth Plagueis. So like 50 to 100 years maybe before episode 1, I would like them to explore that timeline. As long as it's nothing like in between 3 and 4, I'm really over that. Or directly after episode 6 going into 7, we have the Mandalorian for that. Like, it's whatever, and we have tons of books on that era. So I would say, yeah, let's go back in time and see some freaky shit. I want to see some more Sith stuff. That's what I want. The next question is tips on doing highs. By the way, keep up the good work. Big fan. Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate that. I've said this before when it comes to highs and a lot of vocals in general, depending on what you want to do. But the motion of your tongue is very important, what tongue shape you're doing. When I do highs, my tongue is usually like that, where the tip of my tongue is kind of going out of my mouth but curving upwards. So I'll try and I don't know if I can break it down. I'm really not that good at it. So my tongue is definitely moving in different positions. That makes it go higher or lower. My highs are also coming from my chest and not fry. So the power from which it derives from is different as well from other people that do highs. If a lot of people do like high fries and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say your tongue and your lips as well, what vowels you're using might serve better purposes for highs as opposed to lows. Like A's are really good for highs, that kind of stuff. I find O's and all of that kind of stuff don't really work. So yeah. Next question is top 3 deathcore bands. So for this, I separated it into 2 subcategories. One being modern deathcore bands, and the other being old school deathcore bands, because I'm an old school deathcore kid. So there was a lot of bands from that era that I really loved. And then there's bands now that are still active and killing it that I really like. I wrote them down because I took this question very seriously. But for modern bands, for me, Brand of Sacrifice, Humanity's Last Breath, and Black Tongue. There's a lot of other very good ones that I know I missed, but those are my 3 as of right now. For old school, it'll be old school Whitechapel. So Somatic Defilement era going into, This Is Exile, that kind of shit. Rose Funeral was always one of my favorite bands of all time. And then old school, the Acacia Strain. Always going to love those bands. There's tons more. As Blood Runs Black, fucking Hester Prime. Tons of other bands from the old school era. Juliet Massacre. Molotov Solution, which I still think is a band that needs to come back now because I think their music would be more relevant now than it ever was before. Yeah, that's what I think. Next question. Which is the best breakdown call-out? Blah, fuck, or bitch? Since we're in 2020, I'm going to go ahead and say that bitch probably isn't appropriate anymore. I think blah gets overused a lot. I think fuck is tough as fuck. But personally, I've been using a lot. I think that comes from a really good era of black metal, and we're just like taking it and doing it for our own stuff. I think is just fucking brutal. So, yeah, that. Do you use more Faldo chord? You meant false chord. Or fry screens? I use a blend of both. For my lows, it's always been fry. I'm trying to learn more about doing actual tunnel throat and that kind of stuff and false chord for my lows, but right now it's mostly fries. For my highs and mids and then normal singing voice, I always use chest or false chord. Both have their benefits. I don't know why I do both. It's just kind of how I taught myself how to do it, I guess. Second to last question. Favorite video game series from homie boy Eric. Check out Eric's shit. He plays in a band called Sleep Terror. They're fucking dope. Since I am a giant Star Wars nerd, I will say the KOTOR series, KOTOR 1 and 2, and then also the Old Republic game in 2011. I absolutely love that era of Star Wars. The storytelling is great. The characters are really good. Darth Revan, Darth Malak, fucking Darth Nihilus, all those guys, super sick. Outside of Star Wars, I grew up a Mario Nintendo guy, so anything in the Mario series I'm all about. Obviously, Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario World, all that stuff. Galaxy, Odyssey is amazing, which I haven't really been able to play because I don't have a Switch. But, yeah, and then anything from the Zelda series as well. Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, all that kind of stuff, too. It's a hard question. Probably Lego Star Wars as well. And the last question. Where do you see metal genres progressing in the future? I think we're going to keep going back to old nostalgic subgenres of metal because, we've been on this huge, new wave of new metal. Bands like Dealer were doing their thing. Alpha Wolf is really all about that as well. And I think bands like Hacktivist really started off that trend really well, mixing, actual rap with gent and metalcore and that kind of stuff. I really thought that was cool. That being said, I'm really kind of over bands sounding exactly like Slipknot and Korn. I find like the originality of that is just kind of dissipating now, and we're going to be moving on to I think we're going to go back to tech again. Like when deathcore kind of stopped, we had this tech death metal revival with Planetary Duality coming out and that kind of crazy stuff, and Beyond Creation becoming a band and all that kind of shit. So I feel like we'll go back to a more techie side of metal again. It might take a while because I think we're going to be going through this new metal phase for a little bit. But yeah, I see stuff getting harder and faster and just a lot more complex as we go. In terms of metalcore and the more mainstream subgenres of metal, Bring Me the Horizon is doing it right. I would say they sound a lot like Linkin Park. Obviously, that's what they're going for, but it still sounds like Bring Me the Horizon. And I think they're going to influence a whole other wave of metal fans that are going to come in with a mainstream state of mind when it comes to writing metal. And I think that's cool because I think it'll help our genre as a whole. I think the trickle-down effect of a band like Bring Me the Horizon, who were a deathcore band, and have turned into something completely different, but still amazing. I think that trickle-down effect will affect all of us, and we'll get to a place where metal is taken more seriously within mainstream. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's hard to say. But that's it for this Q&A. There was a lot of questions. Thanks to everybody who submitted questions. If you want me to do another one of these, I will. Just ask. Let me know if this is interesting to you or not. It might not be. I don't really care. So we'll see you soon. Hit like, hit subscribe. Let's hang out more.